Hi, welcome back. So on my Instagram, I did a poll asking which of the looks from the Grammys to recreate out of 4 of my favorite looks. And you guys chose the Doja Cat look, which is this cool tone lilac, sort of really just blown out, soft cut crease, smoky eye. So I'm going to do that. Now this is an inspired look because I do not have the same eye shape or the same skin tone. So I will have to adjust a few things, but it will have the exact same feel, but just for me. So let's get started. So I've got the look pulled up here. It's very cool toned, and there is actually a little bit of white in there as well. So I'm actually going to prep the whole eye using a white base. Now this will look crazy, but it is just so later on I don't have to use as many products to try and lighten or intensify the pigment. I don't have to do that because I've brightened it up from the start. So I'm going in with the Danessa the Color Fix, and this one is in the white one. Does it have a name specifically? Lift. And I'm going to just stain that across the whole of my lid. This is going to give that brightness, especially with someone with a lid like mine where they're quite dark. I'm going to just lighten that up. I'm going to just start pushing most of the pigment in the brow bone and on the lid. I'm not going to worry too much about putting any product in this area here or keeping it pigmented there because it's going to be a dark color there anyway. I just want the majority of the pigment being on the lid and underneath the brow bone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start slowly building up the colors. I'm going to go in with the lightest shades first and build up. These are all just mattes to start off with. We're going to add that shimmer in later on. So I'm slowly building up. I'm using the Madison Beer Morphe palette. It has a really lovely, cool toned lavender, like light tone that I can use just to start building up the color and building up the pigment in the crease, as you can see. And I'm going to sweep that all over the lid as well. As you can see, by using that white, I've sort of created that highlight tone under the eye without having to add any shadow in. Sometimes when you add powder under the eye in the form of a white, it can really add a lot of weight very fast, whereas by sort of pressing it in, I'm still got that lightness that I need, but without the weight. So it's almost stained into the eye. Now I'm going in with a similar shade to the first shade I used, but just a little bit darker. I'm just going into that crease, just building that color up in the crease. She's got a very defined crease. It's almost like a soft cut crease, but in the style of like a 50s, 60s, Twiggy-esque. The look, the makeup artist has also done this to really accentuate the roundness in her eyes. So I'm going to try and round off my eyes as much as I can. My eyes are very almond and very cat-like. So I'm going to try and round them up and open them up as much as I can to create the same feeling. The way that I'm doing that is normally what I would do is I would drag the darkness out here. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to continue on and drag that depth down into the socket to really create that roundness in the shape. Now what I'm going to do using the same color but a smaller brush, I'm going to go into the crease. Now using the smaller brush, I can create a little bit more pigment, a little bit more intensity in that shadow by building it up in a smaller area to create more depth. At the end here, when I bring it down, I am also connecting it down into the outer corner, because that is what it looks like it's doing on hers. It looks very much like there is a shape specifically here, light, and the darkness surrounds it. So I'm creating the depth around it first. I'm going to use the E.L.F Cosmetics palette in the Minimalist Mauve series. I'm going in with this color here. It's like a cool mauve tone. And just intensifying and building up that color now. The way I'm creating more roundness in my eye shape is in this area here. I'm actually going to lift where my crease naturally is to create the illusion that it is a little bit higher in that peak. So then the other areas dip down to create that roundness, rather than if I was to do a cat eye, or like a more almond shaped eye, you would keep it quite close and you'd actually raise the other areas to create more of a straight line. Here I want that roundness, so I'm lifting the darkness higher. Just in this point here, you don't want to lift it all the way around, just to create that dip in the eye. Now don't worry about these unblended bits here because there's going to be a little bit of glitter that goes over the top of that, so it won't matter too much. We just want to get that depth really laid down And try not to raise your eyes when you're doing this, because you will change the shape of your eyes. Then when you relax, it won't be as high as you thought it was. So keep the eyes. And way you can do this so you can still see what you're doing without raising your eyebrows is tilt your chin up and look down in the mirror. That way that you're actually not changing the shape of your eye, but you are still being able to see what you're doing in there. Every now and then just go back in with a fluffy brush and just blend around the edges, because we do want this to still be super smooth and blended. Just go around the edges to make sure that's super smooth. You'll create that definition in the crease when you go in with a lighter shade afterwards. So again, don't worry too much about it being as crisp as the photo just yet. We're just laying the foundation of the depth. Because once you put that glitter shade on, it's really hard to build matte colors back up, and it'll just be more work for no reason. Now I'm going to reshape the light area. I'm going to just use a shadow for this first, just to lay the, almost like a stencil for where I'm going to put that shimmery shade. I'm going to use the lighter shade in the same palette, and I'm going to just use a flat brush. I've been using the Viva La Gentil palette brushes for the majority of the look so far. They're really, really nice. I'm just pressing this in. Can you see I'm just molding that shape? I say really, really nice in the most unenthusiastic way. These brushes so far have been making this look a breeze. They have been making the shadow blend out like a dream. This is my first time using the brushes, and I'm actually quite impressed. But obviously when I'm in concentration mode, I sound so unenthused because I'm just like, right, focus. But I genuinely am. They are really good. And so I'm just using that. Can you see how this is just, there's more definition in that shape now? Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the shimmery shade. I'm going to use the Morphe 2 Bright Idea Shimmer sort of jelly thing. I really like this. It's a little bit pink, but I'm going to add the colour over the top to turn it into the purple. But I want to use a cream product for this just because I really will get the most intensity out of it, and it will just show up more. Whereas if I went in with just a glitter on its own, sometimes it can be a bit wishy-washy, especially I've done more shadow work on top. So doing this will create the most impact for the look. So I'm going to just pat that on. And this is just the base glitter colour. What I'm doing now is I'm just going over with a slightly, because there is a little bit of like a warmer purple in the crease. So I'm just going over with a warmer purple just in these areas. One, to intensify it more, and two, to soften the edge of the glitter so it's not sharp and so it sort of blends in with the look, like so. Okay, so now what I'm doing, this is a little bit too gold, so I'm going in with a pink glitter. This is randomly from the Morphe Sour Patches collection. I'm just going over just to add a little bit of a pink tint to it so it blends in with the whole look, like so. You see how that just ices it off a little bit? Now, if you need to get into this inner corner, just look down in the opposite direction so you can really get in there. But I think that's just completely transformed the whole tone of that. And what you can do now is you can blend that glitter a little bit into the crease. So now we can go in with a fluffy brush and we can sort of push what we've applied a little bit higher into the crease, because there is a little element of that in the look, but just not overly intensified. I'm just looking at it now, yeah. Okay. She's got a little bit of a highlight, a shimmered highlight, just in the, under the arch of the brow. So I'm going to pop some of that in there. This is just the excess glitter from the previous step. Just a tiny bit, just to accentuate this little dip here that catches the light. Now this is where we elevate it. So we've got shimmer, matte, shimmer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blend in a tone like this, which is very similar to this matte tone, but it's more of a satin finish. And I'm going to just sweep that in between the layers so it all meshes into one. And then I'm going to just drag that out because it is a little bit of a drag, but the but the majority of the depth is circular, but we still have that little element of drag here, especially now we're going to go into how the brows are, which are very angular and raised. I'm just popping a little bright white ice in the inner corner because they are bright and white on hers. Now, eyeliner wise, it looks like she's literally just wearing a little line just to cover the lash band. So I'm going to just very lightly, very closely to the lash line, just use a black liner. It doesn't flick out or anything. It's literally, again, just for the lash line. I'm gonna put a very light layer of black mascara just to fan them into shape and just give them a bit of a coat, especially if you have blonde lashes. I would recommend doing this before putting mascara on, lashes on, excuse me, as it really helps with the whole look being like seamless and pitch black. Her lashes are super big and open. They're not necessarily flared or fanned out. So that's the style that I'm going for here. Long story short, when you're putting lashes on, make sure the glue is dry enough. Not completely dry, but you've got to leave it for longer than 30 seconds. Longer than what the box says. You'll leave them till they're sticky and they are actually tacky. And then you place them on top in the center and then you tuck in the edges. Considering I have not put strip lashes on in, I'm genuinely being serious, like a year, 2 years. And that was my first attempt. I'm very, proud of myself. And I haven't used strip lashes on clients either. I've been using individuals. So, okay, we'll finish off the eyes like underneath and everything like that later, but first let's do the skin. Her skin is very matte and flawless, so I'm going to do that, very matte and flawless. I'm going to just put the foundation on off camera and then I will continue on after that. So I'll be back in a second. Actually, I lied, I'm going to do it on camera. So I have primed my skin. Yes, I've used a primer. I've used the LH Cosmetics Matte Attack. I have just used it down the center of the face. It is really good at controlling oil and mattifying the skin. When it comes to longevity and things like that, I don't believe that you should use primers in that way. You should use them as specialty items for finish rather than for longevity. And that is the case that I'm going in. And I'm using the Kaya Cosmetics It's Iconic. It's a hyaluronic acid foundation, but it's got a really nice soft matte, which is what this look has. And I'm using a buffing brush. I'm using the Viva La Gentile number 6 brush to just press that into the skin. My ear's a little bit red, so I'm going to just pop a little bit of foundation excess on them. Never forget the ears and the back of the ears as well. I'm just pressing that in so it's really stained into the skin. And then with the excess shadow, I'm going to just re-drag that shadow back out where I may have removed it applying product there. Just so it all looks like it blends together nicely. So this is where I start layering setting spray. So now I'm going to use the LH Cosmetics setting spray. This is the Prep, Fix and Refresh one. So the blue one. I'm going to just spray that all over the skin. Now this is an in-between step. So don't worry if it still feels or looks a little bit wet. I like that it's more of a mist spray rather than a sort of squidgy spray, but it's not in an aerosol. So if I did want to decant it, I can. And I'm going to now go in with concealer. I'm using the KVD Good Apple, and I'm going to use, this is the brush I've been looking forward to using the most to try out. It's a number 7 brush from Viva La Gentile. And I'm going to use this very small amount. I'm going to just start building up that concealer, patting it in. So I want the most pigment from it. And I can really lift and cut that shape there. So can you see here, I've sort of cut into the shadow to lift it up. Even though it's very rounded, here it's very lifted. So now what I'm doing is I'm going in with a lighter highlighter pen. And I'm just patting it in under the eyes just to brighten up the concealer a little bit. And so I've just popped a little bit of the shadow back underneath the eye now because I've done the concealer. And the eyeliner actually drags a little bit in to the inner corner here. So I'll just drag that in there just in, or not all the way across, just in that corner. Next, I'm going to pop some bronzer on, just to define the features. I'm going to press it a little bit into the hairline as well, just so it doesn't look so like stark different in comparison. And just a little bit down the nose. I'm blending that bronze into the shadow so it's seamless. So now I'm going to spritz again with the spray. Okay, so Doja's brows are very different to mine. Mine are a lot thicker and hers are a lot more sort of angular and thin. I'm going to try my best to recreate it by thinning the ends of my brows, but it's not going to look the same because I have a completely different brow shape and I am not tweezing my brows. Sorry. So I'm going to just push the outers here just to try and create that sort of pinpoint edge that her brows have as much as I can before it starts looking weird, and pushing it up as well there. I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze, if I didn't mention, just so I can get some real control over those hairs. Okay, that's as best as I'm going to get, I think. I'll do the other side. Whilst the brow gel is setting, I'm going to just pop a little bit of highlighter. Hers goes quite diagonally down, like so. So I'm going to do just as that. It's not overly glowy. Like, the look is still pretty matte, but she does have a highlight going on, just to add some radiance. She's got a tiny bit on the tip of her nose. Tiny, tiny. Now I'm going to add some highlights in areas where she doesn't have, but just so it creates the same effect as hers. She's got a much sharper bridge of the nose than me, so I'm just creating a little bit of highlight in there just to pull that forward so it's pinched a bit more. But that is all. I normally would put some on my Cupid's bow as well, but I feel like that'd be too much for this look. And then she does have quite a pink blush, so I'm going to pop a bit of that. Again, it's not overpowering, it's just complementary. Okay, brows. Now I'm going to just try and sharpen them up a bit and drag them upwards like hers do. She's got very sci-fi elven style brows where they lift and they go quite straight. Again, I'm trying as hard as I can with my fluffy brows to create that sharpness, but if I make it any sharper, they'll be too thick for the look. And I want to keep it as close to the look as I can. So I'm just defining and pulling that shape up. I think that's as much as I can get away with. That one came up better than this one. This one's thicker naturally. How annoying. So to create the illusion that it's thinner, I am dragging it out a little bit further than say I would naturally, just so you still get that thin brow feeling. Yeah, that's as thin as it's getting. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to use the LH Cosmetics Onset Long Lasting Setting Spray. This one's more of a mattifying setting spray now. I'm going to put that all across just to really get that nice matte effect. I'm going to just use a sponge to press that in to the skin. I'm very happy with how this has turned out. Now it's lip time. Refi Beauty were very kind to send me their latest lip liner collection. I've been dying to wear these and create a look with them, and so I'm going to use them for this. I don't care if they're not look accurate, I will be using one of these colours. So having a look at it, I feel like my favourite colour, fawn, will be the best match anyway. Yeah, I'm going to use this. So this is fawn, this is my baby, this is my new favourite colour lip liner ever. And I'm going to do the same shape as Doja's lips. Now she is definitely a little bit more gifted in the lip department than I am. Hers is a lot more round and more pillow, so I'm going to create that shape. I have a very defined lip very like defined sort of Cupid's bow. So I'm going to soften that shape. And I'm going over. It's a lot more overlining than I ever would do, but again, to create the look, to make it as similar as possible, and really stretching my lips line to the limits here. This lip colour is actually perfect. So I'm just colouring in on the outer edges and leaving the centre without the lip liner, because then I'm going to go in with a lipstick now. But first, before that, I'm going to use the other end of the lip liner, which is this sort of like setting sort of gel, which helps it last really long. And just applying that where I put the lip liner. So it actually looks like it lets a lot of her natural lips show through. So it's a translucent nude over the top. My lips are quite pink, so I want to just sort of dull them down a little bit with a nude lipstick. So for this lip, I literally mixed about 4 different colours together, so I couldn't tell you what it was. I'm going to just pop a gloss over the top. I'm going to use the Refy gloss that comes as well with it. It's just a clear gloss. I'm going to just use that just in the centre. Just a little bit of mascara on the bottom lashes. And that is the finished look. What do you think? It's definitely more of a glam look than I would normally create. This is definitely me maybe like 5 years ago, but I like it. It's really nice. I actually even, you know, might like the thin brows. This is probably as accurate as I can get with this look for my face shape and my features, because my features are different, but this is as close as I can get to it. What do you think? How do you think I did? I think I did all right, considering I don't have the exact products. She used a lot, her makeup artists use a lot of Pat McGrath, and I do not use Pat McGrath. Not for any reason specifically other than it's not cruelty free. So yeah, that is the finished look. If you do like this video, then please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. But other than that, thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye.